Hey guys, welcome to the Forex for Noobs daily analysis. Today is Tuesday, the 3rd of July 2018. Time is 9 o'clock here in the UK. You're looking at an AUDJPY daily chart. How you guys doing? Can you guys hear me okay? I haven't really done a sound check. I guess you can because Steve just said hi, so hey Steve. Right, well, I guess we're good in terms, and hi Patrice, in terms of audio, so we can continue. So in today's analysis, what we're going to be looking for is price action setups across all these pairs I have listed here. We're going to be mostly focusing on daily chart, 12-hour chart, but we'll also look at 8-hour, 6-hour, 4-hour. Most of the trades I take are on the higher time frames. So usually we'll spot a setup coming, a day before it actually triggers. So this analysis, we might spot a setup that's just about to trigger, but more likely we'll spot a setup that's not going to trigger until tomorrow or the day after. But that's the style of trading I like because it's a kind of lazy style of trading. You can spot setups and you have a lot of time to prepare before you enter them. You don't have to make snap decisions. Just chill and lazy. That's the way I like to trade. So, that's such a negative word though, lazy. I'm a lazy trader. Maybe I shouldn't call it that. I'm a calm and relaxed trader. I like everything to be chill. Chill trader. I'm going to do some chill trading here today, guys. Or rather, we're going to do chill trading in a few days because setups aren't probably going to trigger today. So anyway, before I start, keep babbling on, not start, let's take a look at the charts. So AUDJPY, what's happening here? It's this one's just kind of like stuck in between. Basically, there is a complete mess of support resistance down here. Complete mess of support resistance. This area is super messy, and price is just like cutting in and out of this area. It's almost impossible to take a good trade here. Hello, Tinashi. I don't know how to say your name, man. I'm sorry. I'm so bad at pronouncing names. Since it's a question I get asked almost all the time, I just wanted to answer it actually before we jump into the analysis, so I'll make it quick. A lot of people ask me, how do I get into this analysis live? How can I attend live? This is live for members of my Forex Mastermind course only. So you can't attend live if you're not a member. So everyone who's in here is a member. It's live for them only. And some of these webinars are posted for members only. The recordings are posted for members only. Some of them are posted publicly. Just depends on what's discussed in the webinar. So yeah, forgot to mention that, but there it goes. All right, AUD New Zealand. AUD New Zealand's trending up. It had this strong bullish trend. It stalled out at this resistance area just a little bit for, on the 12-hour candle, on the 8-hour candle. It stalled out just a little bit, but that stall didn't last. It just pushed up, broke through it, and yeah, it's quite a strong move up. It's quite a strong bullish move. In terms of any trades on AUD New Zealand, I mean, the only thing that I see as a potential is a pullback to this support area and then a continuation from there. But other than that, it's a bit late to get into a trade here. So let's look at something more interesting. AUDUSD. Some of you, no, I think that was Euro USD. I can't remember. I was going to say some of you are long on Euro USD, on AUD USD, but I think that was the Euro USD trade that you guys were long on. Is anyone long on AUD USD? Because this was also a good setup, but it's a bit late to enter into this one because obviously it's already triggered and shot up on the 8-hour chart. The ideal entry would have been somewhere down here. But I'm not sure if this would have been a great setup anyway, because it looks like these lower wicks would have made for quite a difficult risk-reward ratio. No, actually, you could have entered this one. Especially if you were going for a 1.5 risk-to-reward ratio. Is anyone long on this? I'm sure someone is, even if it's no one in this room. So we'll keep an eye on it, and we'll see how it plays out tomorrow. But yeah, I'm sure someone's long on this trade. It's such an obvious one. I doubt that all the traders trading my strategy would have not seen this one coming. That could be your download rate, Steve. I'm guessing it's probably your internet. I'm streaming at 1080p, and my stream status is good, which means that I'm streaming at the appropriate, that I'm uploading enough data. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that's on your side, your download rate. All right, Euro AUD. Euro AUD has pushed up to resistance. It's pulling away right now. This is another short trade that triggered already on the 8-hour. Is anyone short on this? This one would have been a trickier one to get into. See, because that entry is so low, you know, your risk to reward ratio would have been bad. Plus, if you look to the left here, it's just so many. I would not have entered this one. I mean, it is technically a valid trade setup. It's just, for me personally, this one would have been a bit too risky to enter. If I was trading this morning and yesterday, which I wasn't because I was doing other stuff. I mean, it's sunny weather here in the UK. Like, the UK doesn't get a lot of sunny weather. And we're having an amazing spring and now summer, because it's summer now. So summer is usually my time away from the charts, and winter is when I'm trading full on. That's not to say I don't trade in summer. It just means I'm a lot less active in summer with my trading. So I wasn't really looking too hard at the charts yesterday and today. Well, this morning until now, obviously. And also, I don't really trade much on Mondays. So I missed this AUDUSD one, but that Euro AUD one, I wouldn't have entered this one. GBP AUD, a similar situation to Euro AUD. It's bouncing away from here, but this one would have been just a messy trade to the left. Yeah, let's not look at that one. Euro GBP. Interesting. Price pushed up. It's come down. It's like in the middle of a continuation right now, but there's no clear setup there right now. So Euro JPY. Steve, on the bottom right of a YouTube video, there's usually a little gear wheel. It's like a cog wheel. It's like a circle with squares coming off all the way around it. If you click that, you can change the settings. Change it to 1080p, I think is what its display does. Yeah, I mean, Euro JPY is stalling out on this resistance area, but again, I don't really see a clear setup here. It's just a bit too messy. Let's look for something else. All right, Euro USD. Now, quite a few of you were long on this one, but a lot of you closed it out over the weekend. Is anyone still in this trade? This was a pretty decent long setup, very similar to the current setup that's happening on AUDUSD, although on AUDUSD it's on a lower time frame. But this was last week on Euro USD. It's a very similar setup though, in terms of the price action that was occurring here. Is anyone still long here? Alright, it doesn't look like anyone is, so we can just skip that one. Yeah, it doesn't look like we're going to find any good setups today. I mean, I shouldn't speak too early, but things appear to have already triggered instead of being ready to trigger, which generally speaking means that we probably won't find any awesome trade setups until Wednesday or Thursday. Or maybe even Friday. Yeah, so there's nothing on GBP USD. New Zealand USD has finally broken below this support area, and it started to move down. Was hoping for a pullback on this one, but we didn't quite get it. Let's throw up some support resistance for down here. You know, place one here based on a few bounces there. Place one here based on that big bounce. Also lines up with some of those. I'll check out AUDCAD. Thanks for that, Ash. I'm not too sure about this one I've placed just here, this middle one here, but I'm going to keep it for now. Ooh, actually, so see this area I just placed here, based on these bounces back in 2 years ago. This big bounce here and that bounce there. So it's a solid support resistance area. If it's a little old, but it's a solid support resistance area. Price is pulling away from that area right now, which is quite nice. So I did speak too soon. In fact, it looks like we have a potential setup forming on New Zealand USD. This one might be a little tricky. It's a counter to a pretty major trend, but that's fine. We can trade counter trend when it makes sense to. Especially since this trend is a bit wavy, so it went like this already. So there's nothing to say that after this drop it doesn't go like that and then continue dropping. You know, that's a pretty normal thing for a trend to do. So what we're seeing here is a potential long reversal counter to the trend. So whenever you're taking trading counter trend, it's a little bit riskier. Doesn't mean that you can't trade it. It just means you have to accept that there is a little bit more risk. Yeah, that's a good point also. It is a bit of a funny week. I forgot to mention that. I'm going to bring that up. We got obviously the 4th of July coming up. Independence Day for you Americans. I'm going to bring the calendar over just so you guys see, for those of you who haven't been paying attention to your calendar, your economic calendar. You know, the first week of each month, well, no, sorry, the first Friday of each month is usually a little bit, that week is usually a little bit slow moving until later in the week. So that's because of the NFP report, or these days it's called the NFEC report, non-farm employment change. But, you know, if you were trading 5 years ago, it used to be called NFP, and it was called NFP for a long time before that. So most traders still call it NFP. So yeah, this NFP report, this is pretty much the highest impact report in the Forex industry. It has a huge impact on the US dollar, and then a knock-on effect to most other currency pairs. Even non-USD currency pairs are affected by NFP, although to a lesser extent. So NFP is a big report, especially when it's way off consensus. The forecast is 200K. So let's say if it's 100K or something, or 300K, then that's going to have a big impact on USD. If it stays on forecast, it's still probably going to have a significant impact, but not as significant. So on the week leading up to NFP, generally speaking, things are pretty dull and boring. You don't get that much action until Thursday, even Thursday after lunch, and then on the Friday. So generally, on a week like this, a lot of the setups don't trigger until Thursday and Friday. So Friday with the NFP report, a lot of setups trigger during that release. A lot of great setups if you're trading indecision that's forming because of the news. So it's likely that we won't see any awesome trade setups until later on this week. But that's fine. That's how things work. So and also the July 4th holiday tomorrow is going to cause a bit of a slow movement. So this is probably going to be a slow week up until the end of the week. But that being said, New Zealand USD, we do have a potential setup forming here. I'm going to keep a very close eye on this one. I want to see what this daily candle does, maybe even the 12-hour candle. I want to see how it closes. It's showing us indecision right now. So if this closes as indecision, there is potential to go long here. Definite potential to go long here. It's hard to say exactly how. Oops, no, this is the wrong. Oh, I did it again. It's difficult to say exactly where I would have my target, my stop loss and stuff, because this current candle hasn't even closed. But, there is potential here, maybe even entering on a retrace. There's potential here for a good risk to reward ratio. Let's keep a very close eye on this one. New Zealand USD is looking good. We just need to see how this candle closes. So that's closed in about 13 hours. USD CAD. USD CAD's fallen away from this resistance area. Yeah, nothing much happening there, guys. USD CHF is falling into a bit of a range. This green zone here I have is a range. It's falling into a bit of a range. The upper and lower part of this range hasn't really established itself properly yet. So let's see how that goes. Right now, it looks like the upper part of this range is up here, and I'm hoping the lower part's down here because that gives us a nice target whenever we're shorting from the top of that range. Anyway, the point is, right now this range is forming. It hasn't fully formed yet, so it's hard to take. It's impossible to take any good range bound trades on the daily chart anyway. So you can either drop down to a lower time frame, and we will discuss range trading on lower time frames in an upcoming video to the course. But for now, yeah, just watch and see what happens here. But right now, it's not doing much. USDJPY. USDJPY actually looks a little bit interesting here. Stalling from this resistance area. This is also in a bit of a range. The range here is actually, yeah, it's starting to get established. So let's keep a close eye on this one. Let's look for a potential short from this resistance area. Price is stalling heavily on this resistance area. It's bounced away from it twice. It's the top of a range. It's a somewhat significant high. I wouldn't say very significant, but it's the highest it's been since January. So let's keep a close eye for a short on USDJPY. Gonna wait for this daily candle to close and see where to go from there. Ash brought up AUDCAD, it was, yeah? Let's check that one out. AUDCAD for a short, okay. Let's play some support resistance and see if I can see a short here. All right, fair enough, Ash. It's a short continuation trade, I'm assuming. I see where you're getting at, but I'm always hesitant to enter a continuation trade of such a short trend. This isn't really a strong bearish trend at the moment. We'll keep an eye on it. We'll see how it goes because it is pushing up to this resistance area. So this could be the continuation of this overall bearish trend. If you look, there's kind of, you could argue that there's an overall bearish trend here, but it's a bit of a, it's not a very clean or clear trend because this pullback has been quite significant. And then it attempted to continue down, but then it pulled back up again. So, you know, I'm not saying that this isn't a continuation. I'm just saying it's a bit of a tricky trend. That being said, overall the trend is bearish, I guess, even though it's not a very strong bearish trend at the moment. So it has broken below. It's pulling back up to that resistance area. Let's keep an eye on it for a potential short continuation. What I want to see ideally is price stalling at this resistance area and then a continuation down from there. But you could also potentially enter a rebound continuation here. So let's just see how price reacts at this resistance area. So that pretty much sums up the analysis for today, guys. There's not that much going on because it is going to be a slow week with the 4th of July and NFP. But that being said, we do have some potentials. AUDUSD, this is not a potential, but I'm assuming some of you guys, even if it's not anyone in the room right now, are long on this one. So we'll just keep an eye on it. But other than that, we've got New Zealand USD stalling out at this support area. This might give us a potential long trade. So let's keep a close eye on this one. USDJPY stalling out at resistance. This might give us a potential short reversal trade. So keep a close eye on this one. And AUDCAD, a potential short continuation from this resistance area. So keep a close eye on this one too. All right, guys. So I think that wraps it up for the analysis today. Is there any questions? I don't have a lot of Q&A time today. $12 for USDJPY. Oops, why did I do that? Let's keep the flag list up. Yeah, I mean, you could trade it on the 12-hour. I'm a bit apprehensive about going short on the 12-hour. I'm a bit apprehensive about going short on this in general, just because we have that 200 moving average acting as support here, even though it hasn't really been acting as support that well. And if you look to the left, it is quite messy, and that's on the daily. So the lower the time frame, the less likely that that reversal is going to work out. So 12-hour, I mean, technically yes, but I'm a bit apprehensive about that. I'm happy to keep an eye on it on the 12-hour too, but to be honest, I'd rather trade it on the daily. Let's see how it plays out. Let's keep a close eye on it. We'll discuss it further on the forum as it forms throughout the day. The 12-hour candle is closing in around 36 minutes, so that would actually give you a trade much sooner if it starts to push down from there. It's just as always, if you're trading anything lower than the daily, you're raising your risk of a false reversal. Now, I'm not saying that it's not good to trade below the daily. I trade the 12-hour quite a bit. It's a time frame I trade commonly. The 8-hour too. It's just you have to realize whenever you're entering a trade on a lower time frame, you know, you're getting in earlier, which is a plus. But the negative side to that is you're increasing your chances of a false reversal. So where would I place my stop? Well, I guess it's kind of safe to say because it's closing very soon. So we can kind of assume that this candle, if it closes, it's going to close like this. Sorry, not if it closes, when it closes. We can safely assume that it's probably going to close something like this, unless it moves like crazy in the next 35 minutes, which is certainly possible. I mean, it's not like it's not happened before. probably place my stop up above these highs here. Still have a good risk to reward ratio with a stop of that size. Yeah, something like that. This is how I would probably take that trade. I'd rather my target be here, but that's fine. I could be flexible with the target because it's above that 1.5 minimum that I like to have. So 1.5 is my minimum, which is well within this range. But if possible, I'd rather get a 2 on that. Well, actually, you are getting better with your stops. Last week proved it. You've had that problem for a long time where you think the minimum stop loss is your goal, but the minimum stop loss is never your goal. That's that's the minimum. That's like if you really want to get into a trade, and you need to place a stop loss that's tight, the minimum amount is just above the high of the indecision candle. But the ideal stop loss is always going to be a bit higher than that. And in this case, I would place it above those wicks. Placing your stop loss behind as many barriers as possible is the way to do things when you can, when you have that flexibility. And on this setup, we do have that flexibility. So the barriers we're placing it behind are the high of indecision here, the resistance area itself, which is roughly around here, also the top of that range, which is roughly about here, and the high of these candles here, which is another significant high. So we're placing it behind a lot of barriers. Place your stops behind barriers. Place your targets out in the open if you can. Yeah, you definitely were. So a USDJPY, I mean, if you want to enter in the 12-hour, this is probably how I'd do it. Initial target, I'd probably tighten that one to a 1.5 risk reward ratio. So entry at roughly 110.73, stop loss at roughly 111.45, maybe even just a tad higher than that, 111.47, let's say, and a target at 109.66. That's the initial target. I would look to extend that target if it reaches my initial until I get a 1 to 2 risk reward ratio. But you know, I'd play that safe. A retrace entry would be ideal, of course, as always, because that gets you a better risk to reward ratio. You know, that's how I would handle it on the 12-hour. But on the I'm more tempted to trade this on the daily because this is a risky trade. This is not a high probability trade. This is a risky trade. There's a lot of issues with this one. Like I said, that 200 moving average is in the way. 200 moving average is just a support resistance area. That's essentially what it is. It acts as support resistance. Now, a lot of the times when price has been cutting in and out of it, it quickly loses its effectiveness. But it is still an area of support resistance. It's just a self-adjusting one. So that is something to be concerned about. So you got that. And you also got like price getting to the bottom of this range and then reversing. It's already done so once. So it's definitely easy for it to do it a second time. So do be careful with a target that's 1 to 2 risk reward ratio. Be careful with that because it might not make it that low this time. Might not even get anywhere close this time, but that's the reality of trading. So yeah, guys, I think that wraps it up for the analysis. I am going to head off. I've got a really busy day today because, as I said, it's sunny weather. So I'm going to probably be doing my trading on the go on my smartphone today instead of being cooped up inside the house. Unfortunately, I've also got some videos to record for you guys. So I'm going to have to be in front of a camera today too, which is something I'm not looking forward to. Those are videos for the scalping course that the price action scalping course that we've been talking about quite a bit over the last year. But anyway, I'm sure you guys aren't interested in my schedule for today. So I think we'll wrap this thing up. Thank you guys for attending. Keep a close eye on these pairs. And I'll see you guys for tomorrow's webinar, which should be, I don't know, probably 9 o'clock. Because I want to get them out of the way early this week. So probably 9 o'clock tomorrow. So thank you guys for attending, and I'll see you tomorrow.